glad to be back yet again. So we're going to talk. About intercom, which is something that I've had lots of experience with over the last 15 years. It's something that a lot of people find boring, and at some points it is. But it's one of those things that's it's not sexy, but it's deadly important in most of these cases. And I always say that everybody forgets about it until it's a problem. A lot of people like to overcomplicate things, but it's really quite simple in the way it works, and it's something that has been around for forever, really. And to get some basic functionality, it's really not very expensive at all. In the sub-thousands of dollars, you can easily get yourself up and running, even in the hundreds of dollars in some cases as well too. And most importantly, a lot of times it's classified as a life safety or a safety system in buildings or event spaces or productions and things like that. So it's something that somebody needs to pay attention to at some point. So as I said, I've had lots of experience with this, and from simple systems with just a few belt packs right up into hundreds of wireless belt packs, which we'll get into in a bit. So we're going to start with some wired intercom stuff. This is the most common, what we see every day. It's something that starts with a main station, just like this guy right here. This is kind of the heart of the intercom system. So it does two functions in this case. It's a power supply for us. So it actually provides DC voltage to power our belt packs and user stations and things. But in this case, this one's called a main station because it also has the capability for somebody to plug a headset in or a gooseneck mic and use it from the front panel. So it is two functions for us in this case. On the back side of this guy, this happens to be a two-channel main station, so it has two sets of outputs, one set for channel A, one set for channel B. And then on the far side, there's a stage announce and some other functions. Then, of course, we have our belt packs, our communicators, we call them in many cases, and these can come in single or dual channel units, and with a headset connection. And then in slightly larger systems, we get into something that's called a remote station, which is very similar to this. It's basically identical with the user station on the front, in that it allows somebody to plug something in, but it doesn't provide any voltage for the system and doesn't provide any connectivity. So it's like another dummy main station for additional control. And then very commonly we'll get into stations like this guy right here, which are, this is a single channel, either wall mount or a desktop station in one of our mounts. But we also have multiple channel units to communicate between various endpoints and things like that. And then we get into some accessories like some flashers and interfaces and things, because inevitably people do want to plug in walkie-talkies. They want to get into things like that, or tie in these days with something like a Zoom call today or a presentation. And we've been getting a lot of requests for that with the pandemic and everything that comes with that. So connection-wise, this is a very basic system in that it works over things we're all very familiar with. So in a sample system like this with 4 belt packs, we're just daisy chaining 3-pin XLR to each of these, standard mic cable. The nice thing with this is, this is something that's been around forever, something we call 2-wire, and it's often referred to as a party line from the old-fashioned days where, a string of homes on a street or in a neighborhood would be all connected on the same phone line, share that line, and they would have to use it accordingly. Funny enough, I actually have a red phone just like that on my desk. So it's not a party line, but it is a rotary phone, so it's kind of funny. But technically, the concept is quite similar. So over that 3-pin, we have, pin 1, like audio, is our ground. Pin 2 in this case is 30 volts DC. So that 30 volts is generated by the power supply and basically allows these belt packs to function. So it gives the circuitry inside these guys 30 volts to operate and do things like call signaling and functions like that. And the unique part is that on the third pin, we actually have duplex audio. So and what I mean by that is we actually have both directions of audio flowing on that line. So when you think about it in a case like this, the belt pack basically just has, technically one audio line going in on pin 3, but we actually have a headset coming out of the belt pack, and then we have a mic going into the belt pack. So the belt pack magically turns that into, one line. And that's something we're going to talk about in a bit, because it's not magic. It's quite simple, but it's one of those things that gets a lot of people and causes a lot of confusion with systems like this. So basically, a belt pack is like a distributed amplifier. So it takes in that audio on that line and amplifies it with a volume control to the headset. So that part's pretty straightforward. But as I mentioned, everything's interconnected with that single pair mic line. And there is a termination provided by the main station to keep the system balanced and keep it from feeding back and oscillating and things like that. So we'll talk about that in a minute as well, too. But that, of course, gives us the ability to set up a system where, we can take a Y-split and we can split these lines as many times as we like. We can daisy chain them, so each of these belt packs will typically have an input XLR, but also a daisy chaining output XLR for additional units. And basically just gives us the ability to do that at will without doing any, without any kind of interaction. You can split it as many times as you like, without really making any adjustments. So that's kind of unique when you think about it that way. It's not until you have, hundreds of belt packs or hundreds of things connected that you might have to make an adjustment to the termination in the main station or turn it off or anything like that. So the neat part with this, of course, is that it is self-powered. We have that voltage on the line. It is unbalanced audio, which is one thing that a lot of people get mistaked on. There is balanced intercom systems, although not very common. These systems are unbalanced, and that's one of the things that they are unique for, is that they can go, hundreds and hundreds of feet without inducing audio, even though they are unbalanced. And that's partly with the termination and the way that the circuitry is set up in the system. Of course, we can split and share it. It's pretty resilient to noise, and there are some systems that literally go 4 miles. You can daisy chain that way. And of course, just like these phone systems, these literally operate on the same principle. And that is something called a hybrid. So this little circuit here is basically what was in a standard phone like that red guy that you would see there, and in the analog and the really old days of belt packs, that's kind of what you would see here, and it's something called a hybrid, and this is what I mentioned, where we're basically taking the send and receive audio from a belt pack like this, and we're dumping it onto one line, basically, effectively one twisted pair. So as you can see here in this little graphic, this is the old way of doing it with a pair of transformers that are kind of buck and boost, configured, where the telephone itself just has 2 lines going to it. They're feeding through a pair of transformers, and that is effectively splitting out the receive and what's going into it.
We got a quick question here, Jeff. Mm-hmm. From Ian, he in Ottawa wants to know if there's an adapter that strips the voltage from the comms into to be able to put it into an audio input on a console.
Absolutely. I'm actually going to talk about that just coming up. So,
all right, fantastic.
Yeah. That's a common one, of course, too. So so this hybrid is, this is an old school way of doing it with transformers, and that's not the way it's done anymore. But this kind of shows the function and kind of the uniqueness of being able to send this audio, because we're effectively taking 2 inputs, a mic pair and a headset pair, putting them onto one pair, and that's what's unique in that we can split this and share it so many times. One of the things we'll talk about in a minute is 4-wire audio, which is balanced audio, and that's common for intercom in larger scales. But the issue with that is that because it's got the send and receive separated out, you need to sum it and split it from each of the different locations, which is all something that's done in these belt packs directly. So that's why we can plug these in, we can Y-split them, we can daisy chain them, we can do anything we want that way, is because of circuitry like this. So that's what people call black magic, but it is fairly simple. So. In slightly larger things, we get into intercom rings or multiple channels and things like that. So a lot of times the most common setups these days are two channels, like this guy here. So we have a channel A or channel 1 and a channel B. And in this case, they might get split up as a production channel or an audio channel, something like that, and maybe a lighting channel or a video channel, something along those lines. We typically will go up to 4-channel systems in these. But when you get to that point, there's some other things to consider. Wiring becomes a factor, and one of the things we'll talk about in a minute is some of the digital intercom systems that kind of handle the multiple channels kind of much better and are easier to distribute that way. So, as we can see in these two different ways, we can daisy chain and loop those guys together and take advantage of those parallel connections and junctions that way. So, in the live world, what you guys probably are most commonly going to see out there, at least what I have seen in live productions and festivals and things like that, is not a massive system, but a kind of keenly configured system where we might have one channel designated for a lighting tech, with a standard belt pack like this. We might have another channel, maybe a channel B here, designated to front of house with a position like this. Front of house guys are famous for not wearing headsets, so they typically will get a station like this, and you'll notice that one of the headset options we have is actually a handset, so that guy can plug into a station like this, and then of course to get everybody's attention, we have a flasher. So this allows a stage manager, production manager to get somebody's attention by pressing a call button. So one of the functions that's unique about these guys too is that they all have a talk button, of course, and they all have a call button. So the call button obviously lights up the LED to indicate somebody's trying to get your attention. But in the case of the flasher here, it's pretty friggin' bright. So it's hard to miss that. And then for monitors, same kind of thing. That same channel will typically get split to the same configuration, so these guys can chat on their own channel separately. A stage manager or production manager can talk to either of them independently, and lighting, of course, stays separate. So in a lot of cases, this might just be a simple single-channel system shared across if the crew isn't too large. But when you get into 4 or 5 guys on comm, then it makes a lot of sense to split it up into different groups and things like that. So this 2-wire stuff we've been talking about is pretty cool. It's got its benefits, and it's very unique, and it's passed the test of time in many cases. But it's not plug and play necessarily with just about everything, and there are situations where we do want to plug things into mixing consoles or just strip the audio out, or be able to have the ability to send audio into the system and back out again. So that's where we get into something like 4-wire, and 2-wire is basically audio flowing on a twisted pair in both directions, and in that case unbalanced. 4-wire for us is a balanced send and receive, very much like what we're used to in mixing land and audio land. But in this case, send is going one way on one XLR, and receive is coming one way on another XLR. So they're totally separate and balanced lines that way. So that comes into play in our case when we want to interface with external devices. So if I'm just local to a comm system like this, that's all fine. But if I wanted to take a feed from this and plug it into that S21 that we have on the table over there, I would need to strip off the power, of course, and ideally get a properly balanced signal from the system to feed into that. And that's where we have devices like the EF701 here, which basically takes a mic line in which is the intercom line, and gives you a Cat5 jack, which is balanced audio in and out. And this box actually does one step further on that. It actually gives you call signal data on that RJ45. So when I press this call signal, that represents a data string to be sent off to that as well. So this box can be used just to strip the 4-wire audio off of the intercom line, and can be used to integrate into larger systems for us with that data. So that's one box that would that work in that question, to get the audio out, or provide a means. If you wanted to send me a program feed specifically from the console into a sample or a simple system, we could do it that way. This box has level controls on the front, so you can adjust the input and the output level directly. And then we also have a box that's very similar, but it's meant to do something slightly different. This does integration for something like a walkie-talkie. So this gives you lines that are more suited for a mic input and keying a walkie-talkie circuit, and the kind of lines that are designated for the headphone output circuit or something like that. So in this case, again, we have an XLR to feed in from the intercom system, and we have a DB9 in this case, which would get wired to the accessory jack on a walkie-talkie. And the way this system works is when somebody would press the call button on a belt pack, that would actually queue up the push-to-talk circuit on the radio to do it. So in normal operation, the radio feed, the radio traffic would be coming into a channel on the intercom system all the time. That's, you're always listening. But when you wanted to talk, you would press the call button with the talk button, and that would then broadcast outward. If you just wanted to talk to the intercom line, you would just press the talk button, not to queue up the radio. And there's some functions built into the belt packs that allow you to do that automatically, so that when you press the talk button, the call button lights up, or vice versa. So it's kind of a neat function. So those are the two common boxes that we see the most of, just to get audio in and out, and to tie them together. Now, isolation and interfacing two systems is very common these days as well too. So you might have a production facility, a venue that has a comm system, and then you might have a touring show come in with their own comm system that needs to be likely tied in together. And this is where most of the time it goes wrong, and people have most of the problems. And part of the issue is that you have two different systems. They might be two different ClearComm systems. They could be two different systems altogether. So you have signals that are varying formats and different ground potentials and things like that. So there becomes a need to have a box to deal with that, and to flip it around. So there's a couple of different ways to do it, and like we just talked about, flipping to 4-wire is kind of a nice way, because 4-wire effectively is balancing and isolating both systems. When you do a 4-wire connection, you're flipping the 2-wire into 4-wire with a balanced send and receive, and you can basically take a mirror of that on the other side and flip it into their intercom system that way. So in some cases, we see people do that, and in other cases, we see people use different interfaces. And you have to excuse that label is wrong. That top box should be a MT701. That guy is actually the most common interface that we use for isolating and linking systems together. So this guy actually it basically has a female XLR on both ends, and it allows you to take a system A, plug it in, system B, plug it in. It basically isolates the power, and transformer isolates the audio connection between the two systems. So you can have faith that taking two completely unbalanced systems, tying them together will net you a clean audio connection and no hum. So that's a very unique one. For larger applications, there's one called the TW12, and that guy is unique because it takes it a step further. It's actually an opto-isolated link. So it optically isolates both sides and provides you with two channels of linking between comm systems as well. So you could, if you had a two-channel system like channel A and B, and you needed to link that into another one, a TW12C would be a nice option. And it's rack mounted, of course, too, so it's much easier to travel with. And then, of course, we talked about the 4-wire. There's a unit called the IF4W4, which does 4 channels of 4-wire conversion, and that is a great way to isolate as well, too. And it's useful for other things, too. Having that box in there would allow you to feed something like an iPod into the system if you wanted background music, or take a feed out for recording purposes. A lot of times people will want to record the background chatter on a production just to make sure people aren't saying the wrong things, or to make sure everything's going smoothly, and just to review everything that's going on. So we get to a point, though, where a system like this, is at its limits. Because this is analog, we're feeding a channel of a system to every belt pack. A lot of times we're getting into multiple channels, and it doesn't make sense to, in this case, this is a 4-channel system, feed 4 channels of intercom to this location, feed 4 XLRs to that location, 4 to that location. I mean, the cabling just gets to be a nightmare in these cases. So there are better ways to do it, and that's where we get into, the next step up from something like this is a digital version of that. So the idea with that is, in our case, it's a system called HelixNet, which we have over here, which I'll grab and flip to. Let's put this down for a sec. This guy. See that okay? This guy is kind of unique in that it's focused around, initially at least, it was focused around 4 channels of intercom. And in these situations, I'm just going to turn it on here real quick. The idea was that we could integrate 4 channels of intercom over existing party line infrastructure. So you have a theater that already has a bunch of XLR streamed throughout the space, and in most cases, the most expensive part of a renovation or changing something out is the infrastructure, and doing that, putting in a system like this, would drop in place of the main station, plug into the same lines, and it would offer all of the same abilities to be able to split and to share the intercom, and to run the same kind of distances, but to integrate 4, and today actually it's 12 or 24 channels over just 1 XLR. So that's kind of a unique system that really cuts down on the cabling, but gives you the flexibility of really segregating the network out and having access to all of it. So as I mentioned, we can function with up to 24 channels per belt pack. I don't have one of the belt packs with me handy, but it looks very similar to this guy right here. And it allows us to do a number of different things. So we have our main station here, the HMS unit. We have a remote station, which again is very similar, but just no powering capability. And then in the slide there, you'll see there's a couple of desktop stations and a belt pack as well. And because this is fundamentally IP-based in the back end, we have the ability to link in things like SIP licenses and Agent IC mobile app, which we'll talk about in a minute, and further enhance the capability of it. So this is not a new system. It's been out for a few years now, but we're just getting to the point now where people are realizing the benefits of it, and where needs have changed to the point where 1 and 2 channel systems aren't enough. So if you can see this bottom panel here as well too on the back side, the system operates with a very similar party line setup where we have XLR and it has embedded voltage on that line, but we also have a couple of interface slots in the back here too. So we can put in a 2-wire module, so that allows us to link into the old style systems, and we can also put in a 4-wire and an Ethernet or fiber linking module as well. So this system could form the basis and be part of a much larger either multi-space within a venue or multi-venue system that you wanted to tie together and share intercom with. So that's kind of the next step up. And wiring-wise, the unique part with it is, as of lately, we can take advantage of this digital party line nature, and we can Y-split and daisy chain with belt packs. But what we can also do is we can actually link them in via switch too. So with the Ethernet module, we can actually link the main station into a PoE-powered switch, and then we can run our belt packs or our remote stations over a PoE connection. So you actually have your choice. On these belt packs, they come with an XLR for using the digital party line selection here, which is kind of neat, and you can actually plug in just a plain switch connection to it. So your choice on that case, and it really it allows you to add endpoints to locations where you don't have any analog wiring. You know, any of the Cat5 has already been pulled or can be made available. You know, the system will operate without issue in those cases. And the other nice thing too is that it's all web-based as well, so you can program it via web interface. So. And of course, the next step is moving wireless, and that's where this guy comes in. Yep. Take the whole thing down, so it's a little lighter. So this is a very unique system that, I don't know if you can see that. Is that better? FreeSpeak is very unique in that this is a cell-based system that allows you to basically set up antennas, remote antennas, and define a coverage zone based on where these antennas go. But also, it allows you to scale depending on where they're placed as well too. So, you know, this is a common way to do wireless these days. You know, with an antenna placed over Cat5, they can be run hundreds of feet from a main station like this. And in these situations, you know, an antenna and a belt pack, you know, 5 of these belt packs can operate per antenna. So depending on how you have those set up and spaced around a venue, in many cases, you know, you can support, you know, 5, 10, 15, 25 belt packs per system. So these are meant to integrate, you know, and create very large coverage zones, but also bridge into an existing intercom and link multiple channels. So if you can see the bottom here on this guy, we'll notice that this is a 4-channel unit, 4-channel main station itself, and it has 4 channels of party line here. So I've got 4 channels of intercom that I can link in with this system and feed it into the wireless system. And I've also got 4 4-wire channels here as well too. So I've got 4 plus 4 available for dealing with audio in and out, and that's kind of cool because you know, that's 8 and technically a 9th channel with the program input that I can feed various sources of audio from. So we're getting to a point these days where something like this base station here can form the basis of a much larger system, and it can be the system. You know, in many cases, with the shift of wired to wireless systems, a lot of people are just going wireless, and you know, the need to have just a couple of wire belt packs is very common these days. And these guys actually provide the ability to power wired belt packs right from here, so we don't even need a main station to be plugged into it. As long as we're not trying to run 20 or 30 packs, we can actually just plug right in there and use that. So this in a way can become the main station, and you know, you can really cut out a lot of the old school way that you might have done things. So, and antenna-wise, each of these base stations can support up to 10 antennas, and so that allows you know, would theoretically allow me to have 50 users. But a system like this is limited to 25 in this case. And they are cell-based, so it's kind of like your cell phone where you might set up this antenna and you can create overlap zones of these cells so that a belt pack will automatically roam from this antenna to another one as it walks between the zones. And the way that they're, you know, all of these systems, not even the ClearCom these days, are intelligent in that they, you know, will seek out, they've always got a tab on what other source signals are available and what other antennas it can see. And if it sees another antenna with a better quality of signal than it can get from the one that it's on, it'll make a connection and then break the previous one. So you have uninterrupted roaming between multiple antennas, which is quite unique. So that's a very popular way these days. And One of the latest, and actually as part of COVID, one of the things we've seen the most integration with is some of our IP in boxes as well. So these are something we call LQ boxes, and they allow you to do point-to-point intercom links between sites or venues. So that was the initial intention, but they've also been opened up to do additional functions like SIP call management, so you can link it to a SIP server so that if somebody calls certain extension 6656, it gets dumped into a certain intercom channel. We can do things like radio integration as well. So like we talked about that module, the TW47, we can have an LQ box link into a radio, and then you can remotely trigger it from a different site, which is kind of unique too. So, I mean, this is a little example in a church scenario of linking a main sanctuary and a couple of remote facilities. But, in this case, we have a main sanctuary that's got a system in itself, and we want to tie in a small chapel and a second sanctuary as part of that. Basically, what we can do is we can create a group by just placing an LQ box at each one of the sites, and then over the internet, they all link together and can commonly share those channels through them, which is pretty neat. So that's been something that has been very common, and these boxes actually provide power as well too. So in a small case of less than 10 bell packs at a location, you don't need anything else other than the LQ itself. And then the additional functionality is LQ is a mobile-based option that can be added in and give you the ability to link in a tablet or a smartphone or a desktop PC. So basically, this is still function with the LQ, but it's like an application that rides on top and uses some of the additional and free processing that's in the unit. And so this rides on top of that and basically gives you the ability to piggyback on the channels that are inside the LQ box and take advantage of those, almost like a little mini matrix. So you can have up to, I believe, 12 intercom channels, 15 intercom channels per station based on what's available to the LQ. And of course, that's only dependent on what you've linked with it locally or across venues or things like that. So in that previous example with the churches, we could have Agent IC on one of the units, and that could be linked to the other sites as well too. I could press one channel on this box and talk over the internet to that as well. So, and this isn't just local. This can be routed over the internet as well and can be made public too. So you can make this completely off-site and accessible anywhere. So this is a little example of a small setup where we're doing that. So we have our small party line on the left-hand side with our power supply and our LQ and a couple of belt packs, and then we're linking in over the internet another LQ box at a remote site, and that has Agent IC running on it. So it's one very inexpensive way to give yourself remote access into another system. And if you were just looking to provide Agent IC access, you could actually get rid of the second one and just connect into the main one over the internet with the clients. So depending on what you're after, there's a couple of different ways to deal with it. And we've had a couple of situations where we've just sold an LQ box and a few Agent IC licenses, and that is the intercom system that the production uses. So if you've got a fairly capable building Wi-Fi or local network system, it's not hard to make that capable. So, and then the final thing we'll look at is the next step in wireless is something called FreeSpeak Edge, and it's just coming out now, so new we don't even have any just yet. But it's a belt pack similar to this with it's actually got a much larger screen on it. And it actually has additional belt pack keys on it. So these guys here, the FreeSpeak 2 has a channel A, B, C, D, and a reply key, and the Edge belt pack has a full 8 keys and a full color screen and additional functionality. So it kind of takes things to the next level. And the nicest thing with this is that not only do we, we have a nicer belt pack, but we also increase the audio bandwidth as well too. So, most of what we're talking about these days is around 5 to 7 kilohertz of usable audio band, which is, like a cell phone, slightly better than a cell phone these days. The Edge system knocks that up a notch too, and it's very nice, and it's almost indistinguishable. You don't even really realize you're on an intercom system when you hear it. It's really not having that extra few kilohertz of top end really makes a difference. And of course, we can link many more channels with it, and the antennas support an increased density, so you can actually have 10 users per antenna. So the ability to grow and have a much larger system is that much easier. So it's kind of a neat option. This belt pack also actually has a built-in speaker on the face of it and a microphone. So it can be, instead of having a separate desktop station like this, you can actually multifunction a belt pack and just set it down as an additional talk or listen source as well. So unplug the headset, and while you're having lunch or taking a break, and you can still listen into the comm. So, and of course, the system offers some additional programming functionalities and IP integration that way. So we have full access to every single one of our antennas. We can name them. We can set them by location. We can see which belt packs are on which antenna. So it really makes it easy for a troubleshooting point of view and a traceability point of view. Because once you get to a point like this where you have that many users, everybody wants to know what's going on. It gets to be a fairly robust system that needs to be reliable and traceable. So the ability to program it in, every pack can have its own set of programming, and you can keep a watch on where exactly people are going and trace all of that is definitely a nice option. And then the last one is the matrix intercom. So this is like a culmination of all things that we've talked about. So, barring the party line system and out requiring a HelixNet digital party line system, we get into needing something like a matrix system, and this offers us the ability to deal with full point-to-point communication. So. In this case, we have endpoints, and these days those would typically be a station like this guy right here. This is one of our V-series desktop stations. So this guy actually has 12 rotary push buttons. So this allows you to program up these 12 keys as 12 different destinations. So we can very specifically per user designate who they can talk and who they can listen to, and give them the ability to listen into a source, adjust its own level, and really make the experience and the communication very unique. So these are very common in the production and television and broadcast side of things, where you've got a producer, a video guy, an audio guy, a director. You've got stagehands and things like that. So we have a production going on right now, or we just finished one, MasterChef Canada, where they use 15 of these panels. And like this diagram here, this is actually very similar to that setup, but they also have free speak integrated into it as well. So they have wireless stagehands roaming around with belt packs integrated in. So with a system like that, I can program, say, this talk key to talk directly to this belt pack without going to just a general party line channel. So we get that point-to-point communication covered nicely. I can integrate the agent IC that we looked at, the mobile app. We feed in our mixing console for our IFB feeds. These also are very unique in that we can feed in MADI signals, and we can also do Dante as well. So we can take in live mic feeds from like a Shure transmitter like we talked about the last time, or MADI feeds from like a Digico stage box, for example. We could take one of the split outputs from the rack, feed it right into the system, and then a producer or a director could have those inputs programmed on a key panel, and they could actually queue up the listens to the on-air talent and make sure that everybody is good and ready to go. So, yeah, and you can intermix those and link them that way. And of course, in this case, we have an IP connection over to a remote facility where we might be doing field shooting or things like that. So in the case of Master Chef, we have a larger matrix than the studio, but there's a smaller matrix that goes out and does the remote shoots. And over the internet, we can connect the two of them together and share the functionality on both sides. So that's my part for now. Any questions coming up there? Or did I put everybody to sleep?
I think they're still awake.
Yeah. It's a lot of talk. So.
Dav has a question, y'all.
yeah, no kidding. Eh? So.
With your wireless com, do you need to do any wireless management with it?
We.
2.5 gigahertz, right?
Well, there's a couple different ways you can do it. So there's three variations. So on the FreeSpeak system, the FreeSpeak Edge, which is the latest one, this guy operates at 5.8 gigs. So it occupies the same bandwidth that 5 gig Wi-Fi uses, but it's not actually a Wi-Fi type signal. So a lot of routers and things these days, and even in this building, there's some 5.8 gig here. But the biggest thing with that is that there's tons of channels. There's like 100 5.8 gig channels available, and we only need a couple of those channels to operate with our FreeSpeak system. So with the Edge system, it has a built-in scanning function, so you can tell a belt pack to scan the area, and it will find 2 channels plus a spare that it sees fit and usable. On the lesser capable but also popular FreeSpeak systems like these guys here, they come in 1.9 gig. So 1.92 to 1.93 gig, which is right between cell phone bands, basically. So it's an unoccupied and it's an unlicensed band that's available. And it also operates in the 2.4 gig, so you can buy it as the 2 flavors. So we have customers that have, a lot of 1.9 was common. It was first, so that's very, very familiar. But 2.4 was also a good option as well too, because like the 5.8, we only need a really small amount of bandwidth in that. So even though there's a lot of devices out there with 2.4 gig radios, as long as the way the signals are transmitted on these guys, they're frequency hopping, spread spectrum. So they're very finite pulses of information. And typically other Wi-Fi devices are wider band. Typical Wi-Fi channels are, they're quite wide in their nature. So a system like this will typically avoid those quite nicely. And they actually, these days, have adaptive frequency avoidance built into them. So if it hops onto a channel that it senses that's already being used or isn't clean for its use, it will add that to the avoidance list and it'll avoid it the next time it hops through. So even though we do occupy stuff that is being used, they've really updated the algorithms to make it that much easier and deployable. So in these cases, the 2 of these are just plug and play. You put them in place and you go. You can't change the frequencies. They're managed themselves. But the 5.8 and the Edge system is manageable. You can select or you can automatically let it find its best signals. So, yeah.
That's good. Any other questions, guys, from the class watching online?
I can mention one other thing real quick too.
Sure.
We've done some interesting options with some kind of custom configurations with systems like the FreeSpeak, where these belt packs, our headset of choice is like a 4-pin XLR, right? So you got two lines for mic, 2 lines for headset. But we've done some recently, and these belt packs are available with a 5-pin and a 7-pin as well. So the 5-pin is common with our RTS and Telex friends, but the 7-pin is kind of unique because these belt packs actually have 2 logic inputs on them. And what I mean by that is we can provide it with a contact closure on the outside in the form of a switch, and we can then have that trigger function inside the system. So we deployed a very large system recently where it's used in an industrial application, and they're using noise protection headsets like this. So this is a headset that's meant to be worn under a hard hat. So it has a strap over the top, and then it has the hard boom around the back here. But what's unique, what they required in this case, again, because it's an intercom, it's a safety thing, they wanted the ability to do a hands-free, or, these belt packs are not accessible while in use. So these headsets actually have a button on the side of them. They've got a red button. And what we did in this case was we actually wired this up to the logic inputs on the unit. So that pin 6, logic input 1, basically is traced to the call button, or the call, what we call the call button, and that in turn functions and triggers a call signal to a station like this here. So if somebody needs help and doesn't have access to their pack, they can just reach up and press that call button, and that triggers a function inside the matrix. So that's kind of a unique thing that is, kind of not hidden, but it's not obvious to a lot of people. And you can do things like have, in this case, we have 4 buttons on a belt pack like this. But a lot of times, in large productions, people want to be able to talk more directly to end users, to the point where maybe 4 or even programming the reply key might not be enough. And so I can use those logic inputs on the belt pack to queue up 2 more talks to other people. So they could be for something like a call, but they could also be I want to talk to you, and I want to talk to you separately as well. So it could be like a 6th and 7th button available if it was made.
I actually have a question about that, which is pretty interesting, because I'm just sitting here thinking about the system that we're designing for Faith Sanctuary. So let's say on my producer's belt pack, right?
Mm-hmm.
I also want to have a talk back to the musicians,
mm-hmm.
to the in-ears, for example. But I only want to use that. I don't want them to hear the entire party line, because
mm-hmm.
we already have designed a 4-channel system with you guys, right?
Yep.
Can I use that extra pin to do that?
You could, and I don't know if you're going to be using the stage announce output on the system, but you could also use the stage announce output on a regular pack.
Okay.
So that can be programmed to one of the buttons on the pack here, and you can then press that, and what it does is it diverts your audio from anywhere else that you're talking, and it just sends it out the stage announce output here on the back, and that could be used to feed into the talkback as well. So that would be what I would do, and that wouldn't require anything else.
So I don't have to have like a separate talkback mic. This is amazing. When can we start? When can we buy this, Dav? Dav, cut the check, bro.
Yeah. So I mean that's the nice thing when you get into these larger systems, is that there's a lot more talk paths. But even above and beyond that, you get into systems like this where, we get the request for hearing protection headsets, and this one's missing its muffs, but these are good for 30 dB of attenuation nearly. So that's pretty good in pretty much any situation. And the ability to do something with these buttons or multiples. So you could have 2 of these linked in as well too, because there's not just 1 but 2 logic inputs available on those guys. And these will power electret mics up to 5 volts as well. So you can power a wide range of headsets with these guys, more so than we can with anything else out there. So, yeah.
All right, online class. You guys have any questions? Come on, hit me with questions. Jeff isn't that good at teaching, is he?
No, I'm just boring. Probably. Questions. I mean, I'm probably asleep.
Yeah, probably all asleep.
I wouldn't surprise me at all.
Wake up.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Any questions, guys? Are you guys understanding what's going on here? Obviously, we're not getting into. Ian says very cool. Yeah, it is pretty cool. So just to give you guys a little bit of background, so at Faith Sanctuary, obviously I do mostly producing nowadays. Dav does mixing, but to be able to have like with the Free Speak 4 separate channels, I guess, and then be able to, as a producer, speak to all. Like if I have a message I need to get out to everybody all at once, to be able to do that. But then just learning today with the stage announce to be able to also use my GerrTalk headset to talk to the band or the MC is pretty cool. That's pretty handy. I mean, we use like our MCs on an IFB headset anyway, which we have in the future design that we're working on with these guys. We're actually hardwiring that IFB headset into our GerrTalk system, so it will come out. It will jump right off the pack that the mobile camera guy will be using anyway. So yeah, it's pretty cool what you can do, like, and the flexibility that the system gives you, which is awesome.
What I would suggest too is anybody can download the Agent IC app from ClearCom, and it's got a pre-programmed demo license set up. So if I'm logged in here and you were to download this, and we were each to talk on, say, channel 1 or channel 2 here, we could actually talk to each other over this. So this is like a little sample intercom system.
Cool.
It's just for testing purposes, but you can see latency. This is going to California and back over the internet, over Wi-Fi in this case, but you can test it out. And like I said, this is kind of a cool middle ground add-on option for, adding some flexibility to something you might already have. So yeah, download it. It's free to try it out, and you can play around with 1 or 2 guys and talk. These are party lines, so a couple people can talk on a channel and have a conversation to each other in a different area. So.
And when you go to like Wonderland, well, that won't be this year because of COVID.
You can't say that other people will be listening in either, because there's a lot of people have this, but still, just for playing around, it's very unique. So.
And that Agent IC, let's say you have a full ClearCom system, so similar to what we're talking about, like a Fate Sanctuary, right?
Yeah.
But then we want to maybe have like one of the ushers or something listening, just in case, if they have like a set of AirPods or whatever, that's something that can be added into as well.
Yeah, so you would just need to put, like what's on the screen here, one of the LQ boxes in.
1 second, let's bring up the screen.
Yep.
Wait, let's do it the other way. So we'll do that. Yep.
Yeah, so if you looked at what's on the right hand of the screen, to the right of the bubble there, or the cloud, just tagging on an LQ box into your system would give you the ability to tie on some wireless users. So, and it just plugs right into your MS or FreeSpeak in this case, whichever you're using.
Now, Johan has a pretty cool question here. You said, does the Agent IC work over cellular data, or do you have to be connected, like that LQ box has to be hooked up to a Wi-Fi router?
No, not necessarily. It can go over cellular. So a lot of times, like this thing that I just showed you, I'm on Wi-Fi in the office here, but as soon as I go down the street, I can still log in the same way.
Right.
And it will actually transition from Wi-Fi to cellular or vice versa.
Right.
If you're coming in from an outside shoot into a building, you can seamlessly move yourself across that way. So, and even the LQ box, if you have a router with an internet stick, or you have a SIM card hotspot available, or with an output, you can plug the LQ box in and use it over that as well. So I've tethered my phone to my computer and plug the LQ into my computer, sharing the internet source, and it works great.
So the LQ box is just is basically just an IP address login, basically then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so in this case, it does 2 purposes. It can link sites together over the internet, but individually, or both, it can provide Agent IC users to log in and also link. So the Agent IC functionality is like just an add-on to the basic functionality of what an LQ does. So if you just want Agent IC, 1 box is all you would need with the licenses, and you're good to go. If you were trying to link 2 sites with Agent IC, you would need exactly what's on the screen here now. So,
Bo says no ushers, leave them out of the conversation. I think it's just it's just from a listening. Like sometimes you want to tell the ushers something, you don't necessarily want them to respond, but Well,
you can. So that's the key. Okay, so you can program, because this is very flexible that way. You could program them with just listen onlys. So they would only have the green button. You could touch and slide, and they could listen and not talk back.
Yeah, because we could essentially have a couple of ushers that had like AirPods or something in or whatever with their phone, just in case we need to get a message out from the studio to the inside, an emergency announcement or security, anything security related. Yeah, that's pretty cool to have that listen only feature.
I mean, it beats. You can definitely do walkie-talkies and do something similar, but this definitely beats that, because it's full duplex for one, and it gives you a lot more flexibility on what you're using, because you have access at your fingertips to not only just one source, but you can see everything that's available on the intercom system. So
cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you show earlier that that other mic and throat mic
setup?
Sorry,
I was wondering where I put that.
Show that. This is pretty cool, guys. Check this out. So let's switch the camera so you can see this up close.
Yeah, so it's similar to this application where we came up with this guy. This one is another unique one that we've had success with, and this works especially good with something like FreeSpeak, where we have higher audio band. What this is this is a throat mic piece here. So this basically goes right around your neck here, and it picks up the transductions through your throat. So, if you put your fingers on your throat here, you can feel some vibrations, and it actually picks up a remarkable amount of top end in people's voices. And then you get a security or FBI style in earbud here that you can then stick into your ear to listen. So that's something that is available with in this case, we've got it wired up so that similar to this guy with the red call button here, this guy becomes our panic or our call button here, or this could be a push to talk as well too. If you just wanted to leave that latched on the belt pack all the time, this guy can be a push to talk or a call button, and then just gets wired up. And in this case, it's wired to a 7-pin XLR for what we were talking about before, but can be wired to pretty much anything. So these are some kind of not off the shelf obvious parts, but these are things that can be added in. These are great in high noise environments because they're not picking up direct sound. So if you're standing next to a band on stage or things like that, this is only picking up the transductions from your throat because it's picking up the vibrations literally right here. So they're great for those kind of applications.
Might be fantastic for we always have that problem with our camera guys, for example, at front of house, because they're in front of the PA. Whenever they try to talk into their intercom, it's like, okay, we can't hear anything the camera guys are saying. So we just tell them not to talk now.
Well, it's one of those situations where, it's like, in a quiet environment, this does not sound anywhere as good as this. But if that style of headset is picking up, 60 dB or 70 dB of, background noise, or 80 dB or even 100 of stuff, and you're trying to talk over top of that, you're comparing that versus, a much lower, more comfortable level, with something that's got a slightly tailored response to it. But it actually works surprisingly well. So it was in the olden days and years ago when we didn't have, 7K or 8K of audio band, the top end that you were losing from the throat transductions was pretty key. It didn't really work that well. You could make it work, but it was tricky. But now that FreeSpeak and some of these newer systems have much larger bandwidth, that extra top end that you get gives you the sibilance, gives you the presence that you need to distinguish that, and actually, it's very useful and understandable.
Right. So. That's amazing.
Yeah. So,
any other questions, fellas? And no, I don't think the one lady is with us. I don't think Teeks is with us tonight. But dudes in the class, any other questions?
Class dismissed.
Yeah, I know. It's dinner time.
Yeah.
Well, for some, Bo's in Houston, so he's 2 hours behind.
Yeah.
Johan, what time is it in Dubai right now? And how many cases of COVID do you have? Because that might be my next trip. Get out of this joint with cases spiking here in Ontario. All right. Questions going once. Going twice. Oh, Ian is asking what's the throat mic model number?
In our case, it depends on what you want with it. If you want the button or just the straight throat mic to an XLR, but it's typically TM, so for throat mic dash, we would say XF4 for a 4-pin female, or in this case, it would be XF7, that kind of thing. So, but I can let you know specifically if you guys need some more info. So.
Yeah, Ian, if you need some more info, just send me an email, and I can get you that information. They have under 600 cases total in Dubai. What do you guys
That's
think?
how many we had yesterday, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Ontario had 475 yesterday.
First class
Yeah.
There you go.
First class Emirates for $20,000.
Yeah. Get your own hotel room on the plane, eh?
Yeah, I know. All right, guys. Any other questions? Any other questions? Danny says 3 thumbs up, not just 1. Got 3, so that's pretty good.
A lot to think about, no doubt.
Everybody all good? Yeah, a lot. And the main thing is to show you guys. Oh, Houston is 1 hour behind, not 2. My bad. Mainly so you guys can see, you know, what's possible and how you can design flexible systems. Because we're in the process of doing that at Fate Sanctuary right now. Is designing out a system where we can have. Because you want to be able to separate communication too. Not every message is for everybody, right? So. Yeah, it's ClearCom's the way to go, in my opinion. And yeah, I wanted to make sure that we share that with you guys. Question is, can you have more than one program input into the free speak systems?
Not directly. So we have the one single program in here, but if you're not using all of the 4-wire inputs, and these are basically just line level balanced audio in, but on a different connector. So what you can do is you can wire up this RJ45 here to just a pair of XLRs in and out, and that can be another program source in. And then in the base station, in the menu, you can decide where you want to send that as another source. So you can duplicate. I can have this XLR and this 4-wire going to the same source and destination here. I can link them together. So that would be my way to do it. You have one built in there as the standard program, but these other 4, if they're not being used for anything, for interfacing to other systems, they can be used for more program ins or more stage announce outs, or they could be direct talks to dressing room paging speakers. You know, it's really up to you. So kind of a neat this, you know, in a way, a system like this is like a mini matrix, you know, where you've got, you know, 8 in, 8 out basically, and you can talk directly, plus the belt packs or additional ports. So, you know, we have some cases where people don't even use the I/O on them. They're just talking between belt packs on party lines. And we have some where they don't have a lot of belt packs, but they're talking to a number of different destinations. So that's what I would do. I'd use the 4 wires in that case.
That's amazing. And any other questions, guys? Yeah, again, handy with Director. I'm learning so much today. I'm thinking of different ways I can wire stuff into like the Fake Sanctuary system. I could have a direct announce to pastor's office. Oh,
well,
man,
if I was going to do a system these days, I'd forget about the wired system. I would just put a FreeSpeak base in. I'd maybe tether a few wired belt packs off the back because it'll power up to 10 right off the back, nothing else needed. And then I'd wire those RJ45s up to 4 different destinations, maybe a front of house feed for paging, a back of house, a pastor's office, and you know, maybe somewhere else downstairs or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you can program the packs so that, you know, some people have access to all of them, some people have access to none of them. I mean, these are role based, so you can set up a role for each user and give them different levels of talking, you know, talkability. So.
All right. So I guess Jeff is coming to Toronto to hang out with us to program our equipment.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah, I think that's how Soundbox had designed the system anyway. And it's a free speak base, I know.
Yeah.
Right at the producer station, which.
Well, and I would take advantage. This is a very functional user station here, so it's a waste to put this in a rack where nobody's going to touch it. So, because the antennas are Cat5. You know, this base can be wherever it's most convenient to somebody using it, and I would definitely want to put somebody in front of this because this is like a free 4-channel remote station that you can put somebody at access to, talk and listen and so forth.
Yeah, I think our plan was to have that at the producer station, but also have a wireless belt pack for the producer when they're so they can move around.